Quick demo of this video tutorial. This is a step-by-step tutorial on how to implement insert, update and delete operation inside C# DataGridView. In order to insert a record, you can do this. In order to update a record, you can directly edit the value inside this DataGridView. We have implemented insert and update operation inside the cell value changed event of this DataGridView. In order to delete a record, you can select the row using this row header here, then press delete on your keyboard, then it will ask for confirmation. Are you sure to delete this record or not? Click yes to delete the record. So here we have deleted the record. Apart from these CRUD operations, we have discussed how to bind SQL Server table into C# DataGridView, and here we have populated a combo box inside this DataGridView, and finally we have discussed how to prevent non-digit numbers inside this age column. I hope you will find this tutorial helpful for your Windows Form applications, so please watch till the end of this video tutorial. What's up YouTube? Welcome to .NET Mob. In this tutorial, I will show you how to implement operations like insert, update and delete in C# DataGridView using SQL Server database. Before starting this video tutorial, I would like to ask you a favor. If you found this video helpful, please thumbs up this video. If you are new here, please be subscribed to this channel .NET Mob. First and foremost, we have to create a Windows Form application. For that, you can click on this new project here. And I want to save this project inside this project folder. So I will copy this folder path from File Explorer. Then back to Visual Studio. Then browse. Then paste the folder path here, hit enter, then click on this select folder here. So here we have selected the location for saving this project. Now select Windows under Visual C#, then select Windows Form application. I will name this project as DataGridView app. Now click on OK. So here we have created a brand new Windows Form application in C#. Inside this application, here we have the default form, form 1. First of all, I'm going to change the title of this form. For that, right click on this form, then click on properties. And I want to change this text property here. I will set it as insert, update and delete in C# DataGridView. That's it. Now we need a DataGridView to demonstrate all these operations. For that, open Toolbox, then go to all Windows Forms, then search for DataGridView, double click on it. So here we have the DataGridView. Let me resize the DataGridView here. Okay. So here we have done with designing our Windows Form application. Before continuing with this project, we have to create our database. For that, I will use my Management Studio. Here is my Management Studio. First of all, we have to create a database. For that, right click on Databases, the new database. I will name this database as DataGridView DB. In short, I will name it as DGVDB. Click on OK. Inside this DataGridView, we want to show details of employees. Among these details, we have position. For position, I will show a combo box. I want to populate this combo box with predefined collection. So first of all, I'm going to create a table inside this database for position collection. So right click on tables, then new table. We have two columns, position ID, it's of the type integer. Then we have position itself, it's of the type varchar 50. I want to make this position ID column as primary key. In order to save this table, you can use the shortcut Ctrl S, or you can click on this save icon here. I will name this table as position, then click on OK. If you refresh this tables node here, you can see the newly created table position here. Now right click on it, click on edit top 200 rows. Now I am going to populate this position table with predefined collection. So here we have 4 positions: accountant, software engineer, sales assistant, system administrator. Now we need the main table for employee. For that, you can right click on tables, then new table. First column will be employee ID. It's of the type integer. Then we have a column name to store full name of employee. It's of the type varchar 100. After that we have position ID. Position ID is of the type integer. So when we select a position from given combo box in this data grid view, we will store the corresponding position ID inside this column position ID. After that we have office column. It's of the type vocab 50. And finally we have a column for age. It's of the type integer. Now I want to make this employee ID column as the primary key. I want to make the same column employee ID as the identity specification for this table. For that, select the column, then go to column properties. Then you want to set this identity specification to yes, so that we don't want to insert values into this employee ID column. It will start from 1 and incremented by 1 upon new record insertion. These increments will be done by SQL Server itself, so it will maintain its unique constraint by itself. In order to save this table, you can use the shortcut Ctrl S, so you can click on this save button here. Now I will name this table as employee. Click on OK. So here we have done with database. Now back to the Visual Studio. Here we have the data grid view. I want to name this data grid view as DGV employee. Now we want to add data grid view column corresponding to these SQL Server table columns here. So first of all, select the data grid view, then click on this right arrow here, then click on edit columns. Now we need to add columns. For that you can click on this add button here. Inside this text box you can name this data grid view column. I will name this as txt employee ID, and here we can provide the header text. I will set it as employee ID. This column is for ID column. Normally we don't show ID columns inside data grid view, so I want to make this column as hidden, so I will uncheck this checkbox visible here. Now click on add. So here we have added one column for employee ID. Now we want to add column for rest of these columns here. Now we have txt name. Its header text will be name itself. Now check this text box visible, click on add. Next we have position ID. For position ID we want to show a combo box. So I will select the type from here, data grid view combo box column. I will name this column as CBX. I use CBX as a prefix for combo box. CBX position. I want to show the header text as position. Click on add. Now we have one column for office. txt office. Type will be text box column. Header text will be office. Click on add. Now we have the last column age. I will name this column as txt age, and I will set the header text as age here. Now click on add, close this window, click on OK here. So here we have added required columns into this data grid view. As you can see here, our data grid view columns only takes half of the allotted width. So in order to adjust their width, click on this right arrow here, then edit columns. I want to make this name column to fit the remaining space. For that you can select the name column. We can set this auto size property here as fill. So this column, so name column will take the remaining free space. We have to map these columns inside SQL Server table inside this data grid view column here. For that you can click on this right arrow here, then edit columns. So here we have employee ID. Here you can see a property here, data property name. For this data grid view column, SQL Server table column will be employee ID, and for name it will be name itself, and for position you can see the data property name here. I will set it as position ID. Then we have office, corresponding data property name will be office. Then we have the final column, its data property will be age itself. Now click on OK. So here we have done with designing Windows Form application and SQL Server database. Now we are going to populate this DataGridView using this SQL Server tables here. First of all, I will populate this combo box, position combo box with these columns inside this table position. We will populate these rows inside this combo box as an item. Then we will populate this DataGridView as a whole using this table here, employee table. Currently you can see that this employee table is empty for now. Once we populate this DataGridView with employee table, we will make this control as editable DataGridView so that we can do operations like insert, update and delete. So first of all, right click on this form here, then view code. So here we are going to define two functions to populate these controls. First of all, we have to define a string variable in order to store the connection string for this DB. So I will define a string here with name connection string. For now, I will paste the connection string here. First of all, we have data source where we need to specify the SQL Server instance name. Then we have initial catalog where we need to provide the DB name. Then we have integrated security is equal to true because we are connecting this DB using Windows authentication. We have already discussed how to generate C# connection string for SQL Server DBs in another video. I have given the video link in video description. If you want to know more about connection string, you can go through that video. For now, I am going to define a function to populate this combo box, position combo box. So function will be something like this: void populate position combo box. We don't have any parameter for this function. I'm going to start with an using statement. As a resource, I will use an object of SQL connection class connection. For that, we have to import this namespace here using system.data.sql client. That's it. Connection name will be SQL con is equal to new SQL connection. Inside this constructor we can pass this connection string variable. So I will paste the variable here. Inside that we have to retrieve these rows inside this position table here. For that I'm going to use SQL data adapter as SQL data SQLDA is equal to new SQL data adapter. As a first parameter, I will pass the SQL query because it is simple. We don't have to define a store procedure for this query, so I will directly enter the SQL query here. Select star from position. As a second parameter, we have to pass this SQL connection object here, SQL con. Before that, we have to open this connection object by calling this function open. In order to store position rows inside this C# code, I will define a data table here. Data table DTBL is equal to new data table. Now we can execute this query. For that, we just need to do this SQLDA dot fill. As a parameter for this function, we just need to pass this data table object here. So inside this data table object, we have all position rows from this SQL Server table position. Now we have to populate or bind this data table into this combo box, position combo box here. We have named this position combo box as CBX position. So we can do this CBX position dot data source is equal to DTBL. So here we have set the data source. Before that, we have to specify value member and display member for this combo box. For that, we can do this CBX dot value member is equal to position ID, and then after that we have display member. As a display member, we will show the position column. So when we select an item from this position combo box, we need corresponding item position ID. because we need to save that position ID inside this employee table in this column position ID. So we can get that position ID from the value member of the combo box. Okay. Finally, I want to add an extra item into this combo box here. Often you might have seen header option which shows select or none in many of the combo box. So in this case, I want to show a header item which shows select. For that, we can do this. First of all, we have defined a data row object in order to store new row from this data table, and we have set the columns values. First column will be 0, that means position ID. Then position column value will be select, and finally we have inserted that new row or header row as a first row inside this table DTBL. Finally, we have set that data table into this combo box CBX position. Now we can call this function inside the form load event. For that, right click on this form here, then go to properties, then look for event load, double click on it, or you can double click on this form itself so that it will create the form load event here. Okay, now we can call this function populate position combo box here. Okay, now let me run this application here. So here we have the position combo box. It is populated with 4 rows from the SQL Server table position, and here we have the extra header item which shows select. Now let me close this application. Now we need one more function to populate this DataGridView. For that, I will define an extra function here, void populate DataGridView. Okay, inside this function we have to retrieve rows from this employee table. So I will copy this using statement inside this combo box populate function. Okay, we just need to edit that accordingly. It is a best practice to use using statement in C# to interact with SQL Server DB, because once we open this SQL connection here, we don't want to close this SQL connection at the end. Suppose if there is an error in between these lines of execution, it will get out of this using statement and it will automatically close this SQL connection. So we don't want to worry about releasing this SQL connection object. Using statement will do the job for us automatically. So here we have to edit this code which is copy pasted from our combo box populate function. We need to retrieve rows from employee table. So query will be something like this, select star from employee, and here we have the rows from employee table. Now we need to assign this table into the DataGridView. So I will get rid of this extra lines here. Now we can set this DTBL inside this DataGridView. For that we can do this dgv employee.dataSource is equal to DTBL. That's it. Now we can call this function here, populate DataGridView. Let me run this application here. So here we have done with populating DataGridView and DataGridView column combo box. Now we have to make this DataGridView as editable so that we can implement operations like insert, update and delete. So let's look how we can do that. Currently inside this DataGridView we have a new row by default. If you want to add a new employee record, you can use that row here. So I will type the employee name EMP1. You can move forward using tab control. Hit tab so that it will move from left to right. If you want to move backward, you can use the shortcut shift tab. Now I have entered the employee name. If you want to select a position, hit tab. So here we have focused this combo box. If you want to change the position, then press space bar, then use your upward and downward navigation arrows in order to select a position from this combo box. Then hit tab to enter office. So I will type the office here, then age. So like this we can enter employee details inside this DataGridView. Once we start editing this new DataGridView row here, it will create a new DataGridView row by default. Okay. So these are the functionalities implemented inside DataGridView by default. Now in order to implement insert and update operation, we are going to make use of an event from this DataGridView, which is this one, cell value changed. Using this event, we will implement insert and update operation. This event will be triggered once we change a cell value inside this DataGridView. So I'm going to create this cell value change event for this DataGridView. Inside this event, we can implement operations insert and update. First of all, we will make sure that there is a current row or focused DataGridView row. For that, we can do this if dgv employee dot current row not equal to null. That means that we have a focused DataGridView row. Inside this if clause, we can do operations insert and update. I will start with using statement. Using statement as a resource, I will create an object of SQL connection like we have done here, and SQL con dot open, and then I will declare a DataGridView row object here, DataGridView row. I will name this variable as dgv row is equal to dgv employee dot current row. That means we will save the current selected focused row into this variable dgv row here. Before continuing with this function, we have to create required stored procedures for insert, update and delete. We can do these operations like we have done using these direct SQL queries. If we do these operations using direct query, there might be a chance for SQL injection. In order to avoid that, we will use SQL stored procedures. For that, back to Management Studio. Now, in order to create a new stored procedure, you can click on this new query here. Then make sure that we have selected the corresponding database name from this drop down. In order to create a stored procedure, we can do this: create pros. Stored procedure name will be something like this: employee add or edit. So this is a stored procedure for two operations, insert and update. We will do these two operations using a single stored procedure, employee add or edit. Below that, we have to provide the parameters for this stored procedure. First of all, we have employee ID. It's of the type integer. Then we have name. It's of the type worker 100. Then we have position ID. It's of the type integer. Then we have office. It's of the type worker 50. Finally, we have one parameter for age. It's of the type integer. As here we need to provide the SQL query to do operations insert and update. First of all, we will check whether this employee ID parameter, employee ID is 0 or not. If it is 0, then we will do the insert operation. Insert into employee table. Here we have to list the employee columns. First of all, we have name. We don't want to insert values into this employee ID column because it is an identity specified column. Then we have position ID. After that, we have office column. Finally, we have age column. Now we have to provide the values for these columns in same order. So we have name parameter, then we have position ID. After that, we have office and age. In the else part, we will do the update operation. Update employee table set name is equal to @name. Then position ID is equal to @position ID. Then we have office is equal to @office. Finally, age is equal to @age. Where employee ID is equal to @employee ID. In order to create this stored procedure, you can click on this execute button here. So here we have created the stored procedure employee add or edit. Now we have to create one more stored procedure for delete operation. For that, I will click on this new query button again. Create pros. Procedure name will be something employee delete by ID. We have a parameter here. Sorry, here we have misspelled create. We have a single parameter employee ID. It's of the type integer as delete from employee table where employee ID is equal to the given ID. In order to create this stored procedure, you can click on this execute button. Newly created stored procedure can be seen under this stored procedure node here. So here we have the stored procedure for insert and update operation. Here we have the stored procedure for delete operation. Now back to the Windows application here. Currently we are inside the cell value changed event. Inside that we will implement insert and update operation. For that we will call this stored procedure here employee add or edit. In order to call that stored procedure, I will declare a variable of SQL command as SQL_cmd is equal to new SQL command. As a first parameter, I will pass the stored procedure name. So let me copy the stored procedure name from here and pasting here. As a second parameter, we have to pass the SQL connection object. First of all, I will set the command type here. SQL_cmd dot command type is equal to command type dot stored procedure. First of all, I will show you how to do insert operation. After that, we will do the update operation. So now we can pass the parameters for these stored procedure parameters here. In total, we have 5 parameters. SQL_cmd dot parameters dot add with value. First parameter is for employee ID at employee ID. For that we will pass 0. For insert operation, employee ID parameter value will be 0. Like this we have to pass parameters for remaining 4 parameters. So I will copy paste this row 4 times here. Now we have name parameter. We can pass this name parameter value from this second column here. First column will be the employee ID column, which is already hidden. So here we have the second column name. From this column we can pass value for this parameter. For that we can do this. We will make use of this DataGridView row here. DGV row dot cells. Inside that we can pass the column name or index. I will pass the column name here. It was txt name dot value. This property is of the type object. If we does not enter anything inside this text box for name column, then value inside this property will be null. So we will check whether it is null or not. So we can do this db null dot value. First of all, we will check whether it is null or not. If it is null, we will pass an empty string. Otherwise, we can pass the value directly from the property here. After that, we have to convert that into string like this. Now we have to pass value for this parameter position ID. So I will change this employee ID to position ID. We have to pass value for this position ID like we have done for this name column here. So let me copy this and pasting here. Instead of 0, instead of txt name, we have cbx position. Okay, first of all we will check whether it is null or not. If it is null, we will pass a 0 here. Otherwise we will have the number string for the selected item from this combo box here. Here you can see that this position ID is of the type integer. So we want to convert this string into integer. So finally I will convert this into integer. For that I will do this convert to int32 function will be called. After that we have this office parameter. So instead of employee ID we have office. For this parameter, we have to pass the value like we have done for the name parameter. So let me copy this and pasting here for position ID and age. So this will be age. Okay. So here we have txt office. Sorry, here we have cbx position. And here we have txt office, same will be here. So we don't want to do any change for office. It will be same as name column. Both of them are string columns. Finally, we have the age column. Corresponding column name will be txt age. If cell value is null, we will pass a 0 string. Otherwise, we will pass the number string. Since we have declared this parameter as integer, so we want to convert that into integer. So we can call the function convert to int32. Convert to int32. Finally, we have to execute the store procedure with given parameter values. For that, we can do this sql cmd dot execute non-query. So this will insert a new employee record into the employee table. After that, we have to refresh this DataGridView by calling this function here, populate DataGridView. So let me copy this, and we have to call the same function here also. Now let me run this application here. I'm going to enter a new employee name here, Fiona Green, then press tab. So it should be saved inside employee table. Let me check our table here. Let me execute this query again. So here we have the new record for Fiona Green. After this insert operation, we have refreshed this DataGridView by fetching all these rows inside this employee table back to this DataGridView. Now let's look how we can implement update operation. Here we have hidden employee ID column. For new DataGridView row like this, employee ID will be null. And for employee records which are already inserted into employee ID, will have an employee ID value which is corresponding to the employee ID value inside this employee table. Now let's look what it makes the difference. So here we have inside this cell value changed event, here we have passed employee ID value as 0 for insert operation. Okay. Now I'm going to make a few changes here. First of all, here I will add an if clause here. If we will check the employee ID column value here, dgv row dot cells. Inside that we have to pass the column name here. For employee ID, we have named the column as txt employee ID dot value. If it is equal to null, db null, we can say that this row is a new row, so we have to do insert operation here. Okay, this is for insert operation. In the else part, we can do the update operation. For that, we have to pass the corresponding employee ID from this cell. Okay, so let me copy this line from here and pasting here, and we have to pass the employee ID. So I will do this, convert to int32, because employee ID is of the type integer here. Sorry, yeah, here it is, integer. So we have to pass the value as integer. We can copy this from here and pasting here. So for insert operation, employee ID will be 0, and for update operation, employee ID will be a non-zero value. Based on that, inside this store procedure, employee add or edit, we will do insert and update operation. Let me run this application again. So here we have the record for Fiona Green, which is already added into the employee table. Now I'm going to update this record. For that, I will change the position to software engineer. I want to make office as London, then age will be something 24. Hit enter. Now check our DB here. Let me execute this select star statement again. So here we have updated record for Fiona Green. So here we have done insert and update operation inside an editable data grid view. Like this, we can insert as many as employees we want. So I'm going to insert a new employee record here. James Jones. Corresponding position will be accountant. Then office will be something Sydney. Then age will be 33. Now let's check our employee table here. So here we have the record for James Jones. Now we have a small problem regarding this age column. We must prevent non-digit number inside this age column. So let's look how we can do that. For that, we will make use of an event from DataGridView, which is edit control showing. That event will be triggered when we start to edit a cell from DataGridView. Let me close this application here. Now go to design, right click on DataGridView, then properties, then go to events, then look for edit control showing event. So here it is, edit control showing, double click on it. Before continuing with this edit control showing event, we have to write a key press event for normal text box. So for now, I will copy paste the event here. So here we will allow only two types of keys. First one is digit keys, which is 0, 1, 2 up to 9. Then we have control keys. That means escape, delete and backspace, enter. So these control keys are needed in order to edit a mistyped digit inside the text box. If typed key is not from these two categories, we will prevent the key by setting this property e.handle to true. First of all, we will check the column or current cell index dgv employee dot current cell dot column index. So we want to check the column index. For this column, age column, we have employee ID as the first column. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So age column will have a column index 4. So if column index is 4, we want to bind this key press event allow numbers only into that cell. So first of all, we will do this. E.control will have the text box object txt age dot keypress is equal to, first of all, we will avoid the already binded text box event, keypress event text box. For that, we can do this allow keypress. Okay. After that, we will add this keypress event into this text box. Now let me run this application. I'm going to add a new employee here, Tony Abraham. Then I will select the position as sales assistant. Then office will be somewhere in India. Then we have age, it will be 26. If I try to enter something other than number, you can see that it won't work. Okay, so here we have prevented non-digit numbers inside this age column. Now let's discuss how to delete row in DataGridView in C# Windows application. By default, if you select a row from this DataGridView using this row header here, then hit delete button on your keyboard, it will delete that row from your DataGridView, but it won't delete that row from our SQL Server DB. In order to delete that from our DB permanently, we have to write C# code. For that, we will make use of this stored procedure that we have already written, employee delete by ID, where we delete an employee record with given employee ID. So let's look what are the things that we have to do to delete this row from SQL Server DB permanently. For that, I will make use of the event from DataGridView, which is this one, user deleting row event. You can see the event here, user deleting row. I am going to implement this event here. So double click on it. First of all, we will make sure that the row which is selected by user is already inserted into our DB. For that, we can do this if dgv employee dot current row dot cell we have to check the employee ID column txt employee ID dot value is not equal to a null. So we can do this db null dot value. Inside that we can do the delete operation. First of all, we will ask the user whether you are sure to delete this employee record or not, because delete is a loss of data. So we need confirmation from user side. So we can do this message box dot show. We are asking, are you sure to delete this record? Okay. As a second parameter, we have to pass the title for this message box. So I will type DataGridView. Third parameter, we will pass the buttons for confirming this delete operation. So message box buttons dot yes or no. We need these two buttons, yes or no. If user confirm this operation, that will return dialog result yes. So we will compare this return result with dialog result yes. Okay. If it is yes, we can go ahead with deleting this row. So first of all, I'm starting with using statement. Beside that, I will create an object of SQL connection as SQL con is equal to new SQL connection. Inside that, we have to provide the connection string here. First of all, we will open this connection by calling this function open, and then I will create an object of SQL command as SQL cmd is equal to new SQL command. Inside that, first of all, we will pass the stored procedure name, which is this one, employee delete by ID. Let me copy this and pasting here. As a second parameter, we will pass this connection object SQL con. Below that, we will specify the command type. Command type is equal to command type dot store procedure, because we are using store procedure here. Okay. Now we have to pass the value for this parameter employee ID SQL cmd dot parameters dot add with value. Parameter will be employee ID, and value of this parameter should be passed as integer. So I'm going to convert the value to integer, convert to int32. Then we will pass the value from the employee ID column. So I will copy this and pasting here. That's it. Now we can call this stored procedure. For that, I will do this SQL cmd dot execute non-query. So here we have done with delete operation. Here we need to be conscious about the default functionality or feature of DataGridView. When user click delete button from their keyboard, the same event will be triggered. Okay. We have to prevent the default delete operation from the DataGridView. We will delete only when user confirm this operation using this message box here. So in the else part, in order to block the default delete operation, we can do this e.cancel is equal to true. Okay, we have to do the same for this if clause here. First if clause, here we check whether the employee ID value is null or not. If it is null or something, we will prevent the default operation like this. Now let me run this application. Now I'm going to delete this record for James Jones. For that, you can select the row using this row header here. Then press delete on your keyboard. So it will show this message box. Are you sure to delete this record? If I press yes, it will delete the corresponding record for the employee. If I press no, it won't do nothing. So I click yes. So here you can see that James Jones record is deleted. Now let me check our database. So I will expand this tables node here, right click on employees table, then select top 1000 rows. So here we have deleted James Jones record permanently from this employee table. Now I would like to make one correction regarding this allow numbers key press event. We have to move this line out of this if clause here, okay, in order to remove the key press event from other columns. If you found this video helpful, please thumbs up this video, and for more awesome videos like this, please be subscribed to this channel .NET Mob. You can download this project source code and DB script from the link given below in video description. Please like and share this video with your friends so that they can benefit from this. Have a nice day. Bye.